Quill was out adventuring beyond the edge of the clearing. Dusk was creeping in, but she wondered what she might find if she went just a little farther.
The story of Moss is quickly told, but it gives the player more than enough motivation to finish the approximately 3 hours long game. The little brave mouse Quill has to save her uncle from mysterious monsters that have already destroyed the old kingdom many years ago.
First, they killed the king. A winged creature broke from the shadows and plucked him from his royal bedchamber high atop the tallest tower.
The story is being told by reading an old picture book. The children's book aesthetics perfectly match the fairy tale setting and emphasize the game's dreamy atmosphere. But the fact that the narrator voices and imitates all of the characters in the game does seem a bit uninspired at times.
Uncle Argus followed her motion. A reader? With you, here, right now?
It's a shame that the story ends very abruptly. None of the hinted at storylines are resolved in a satisfactory way. There's not even a classic cliffhanger that makes you wonder how the story continues. The story just ends, without any warning. Gameplay-wise, the game is much deeper than you might think at first. Moss can be described as a mixture between third-person action-adventure and first-person virtual reality game. The player simultaneously takes control over Quill and the mysterious reader, a supernatural presence that protects Quill on her adventures. You control Quill like a typical action-adventure hero. The little mouse can run, jump, swing her sword, and interact with objects in the environment. The reader, on the other hand, is controlled through a first-person perspective and with motion controls. The PlayStation controller basically acts as your extended virtual arm in the game. The mythical being's powers allow it to heal Quill, move objects for Quill, immobilize enemies, and even take control over enemies. Moss's level design seems very linear and rather boring at first. There are little to no branching paths, and a lot of invisible walls that will keep you from exploring the world. But this linearity is more than just compensated by the freedom of movement the player enjoys in virtual reality. The levels feel like dollhouses or dioramas, giving the player a fascinating look into the tiny world of Moss. Only those who carefully explore the levels and really peek inside the structures in the game will discover all of the hidden secrets and collectible scrolls. However, these collectibles and the trophies you get for finding them are only a small consolation for the extremely short length of the game. Similar to the level design, the combat system with Quill's relatively limited combat moveset seems very simple at first, but combined with the reader's motion controls, the combat system feels fresh and exciting, and it will definitely put your multitasking abilities to the test. There are only a handful of different enemy types in the game, but at least they all have specific abilities and attack patterns to keep things interesting. The numerous puzzles in the game also benefit enormously from the combination of simple action-adventure gameplay and virtual reality elements. Similar to the game's combat system, you will often be required to do multiple things at once to solve a puzzle. The puzzles start out pretty simple, but fortunately quickly evolve into challenging but always very intuitive trials. Rest assured that you'll have to think more than a few steps ahead to solve the puzzles and find all of the hidden scrolls. The controls in Moss are reliable for the most part. However, the game does suffer from some headset and controller tracking issues. Especially when things get hectic, the controller can get lost and tracking can get very glitchy. In the worst case, this can lead to some unfair deaths. However, these limitations can be attributed to the outdated PlayStation VR hardware rather than to the game itself. Audiovisually, Moss is definitely one of the most impressive games you can experience in virtual reality right now. The soundtrack perfectly fits the fairy tale setting and accompanies both hectic and more calm situations with an adequate musical score. The levels are crammed with intriguing little details that give the player a good sense of the world's scale. Another visual highlight is of course Quill herself and her adorable animations. Every jump, every attack, every high five with the player is incredibly cute and will make you want to protect Quill even more. Moss is a game that you can fall in love with very quickly. The mythical world and its tiny inhabitants will fascinate you from the very first second of the game. The combination of traditional action-adventure gameplay elements and the first-person virtual reality perspective works extremely well and is a wonderful showcase for the immense potential of virtual reality gaming. It is all the more tragic that Moss finds such an abrupt and arbitrarily set ending and leaves the player with an unsaturated hunger for more.